Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sitting Ovation, a podcast about who the interesting people who work in theater are, what they do, and why they do it. We're your hosts, Bailey Sheehan,
Elizabeth Miller,
and Matt Faragasso.
We'd like to welcome you to our show, but before we get started, we'd like to take this opportunity to respectfully acknowledge that we are hosting this podcast from the traditional lands of the Lenni Lenape people, and we pay our respects to elders both past and present.
Today you'll be getting to know Eliza Howard, a current student at Lehigh University. Who is Eliza? What does she do? Why does she do it? Let's find out. So Eliza, tell us about your journey into theater. What was your first theatrical experience?
Yeah, so I've been performing in some way since I was like 5 years old. My sister and I used to do little performances on our front porch at my house growing up for my parents and any lucky neighbors walking by. But the first time I was ever on stage for real was in my fourth grade Christmas show, and I played the wonderful role of the sequoia tree for the Christmas show. And I have been hooked on theater ever since.
So tell us about your role as a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, it was a Santa Goes Green themed Christmas show. So it was all about the environment. So I had a wonderful solo that I was very proud to get to sing in front of my friends and family about how all of the trees were getting cut down. It was a very positive Christmas show. But I just loved getting to play a character and be on stage, and you couldn't get me off the stage after that.
We know that you had a really interesting high school experience with theater. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have always loved science. Science has been one of my passions. So I went to a science vocational school. It was called Biotechnology High School. And when I got there was only plays, no musicals, and they were very small. We used heat lamps as our lighting for our stage. Our stage was a wooden stage built in one of our friend's dad's backyard.
So you're using heat lamps on a wooden stage.
Oh, it was,
and no one was concerned about this.
That honestly didn't even cross my mind until right now. All I could think about was, it's warm up here.
All costumes were bikinis that year.
Were these outdoor shows?
No, it was in our computer lab. We you couldn't walk too quickly across the stage because it kind of wobbled. It was so much fun. We the actors were the only people involved in the show. We didn't have a crew or anything, so we would all put the stage together ourselves. We'd steal lab goggles and put it together. It was a lot of fun. So we did A Midsummer Night's Dream my first year in high school. And then all of the theater kids were really interested in doing a musical. We'd never done a musical before. So we talked to the music club, which we were like two very small clubs at my high school, and we combined together to put on my high school's first ever musical. We did Annie my sophomore year, and we went from an average audience of about 40 people to an average audience of about 400 people, which was really cool. It just kind of shows you how much science people love the arts, and how like we will absolutely show up for the arts, and how important the arts are to science people. And they're still doing musicals now. My sister went to biotech as well. She just graduated, and they're still doing musicals, and they're the biggest club at biotech now, which is really cool.
That's fantastic. You've taken the science school. Yeah.
Did they upgrade from the wooden stage?
Yes,
That was
we
my
have
next
a metal
question.
stage now. It's safe. Don't need the lab goggles. We have real lights and a spotlight, which is very exciting. And we've upgraded from the computer lab to the cafeteria.
Ooh, love a good cafetorium. Everyone loves one of those.
The cafe gymatorium. Yeah.
We just went for multi-purpose room.
Yes,
Yes.
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 So you've come a long way since high school. Now you're here with us at Lehigh. So what brought you to Lehigh, and then what brought you into the Lehigh University Department of Theater?
Yeah, so I came to Lehigh because I knew that science and engineering was my passion, but I wasn't sure exactly what kind yet. I knew Lehigh would give me a chance to try it out. But I also knew I wanted to study abroad eventually, and I wanted to stay involved in the arts. I didn't want to let go of the arts after high school. So I chose Lehigh because a lot of people that I've met through Lehigh have gotten involved in so many different things. So I came here, and on a whim, I was walking through the arts building just to check it out as a little freshman here. And I walked past a poster for Orlando. And I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough for college theater, but I guess I'll sign up and give it a try. And then I got cast, and I don't think I've gone a semester without doing a show since.
Well, welcome to the group. And right now, I feel like that's what happens. I was kind of the same way, right? I was like, theater. I was so scared of theater, and then I did it, and I was like, nope, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm hooked, right?
Yeah, I was like, I come from like heat lamp stages. There's no way I'm gonna be good enough for a real stage.
Do you find any connection between theater and your major, being in the
Absolutely.
sciences and the arts?
Yeah, so I actually started here as a bioengineer, and my when I started stage management here at Lehigh, it kind of made me realize that I don't love the lab setting. I love working with people and being organized and solving problems, and that is more my passion than anything else. So I went and I talked to my advisor, and I ended up switching my major to integrated business and engineering, industrial and systems engineering, which has too many ands in it, but it's all about problem solving and working with people to solve those problems, which is kind of what stage management was like for me. Together, they have combined to allow me to figure out what I actually want to do with my life, which is pretty cool. So I know I want to go into like management and healthcare in like a pharmaceutical company is my intended path as of today, although it might change as it's already changed like 4 times in the last 4 years. But theater was one of the things that helped me realize what I like.
So you've stage managed, and I love that. Thank you. I have a certain passion for stage management myself, as you know, and you've acted within our department. Can you tell us a little bit more about your involvement with the very famous Mustard and Cheese?
Yes. So I am currently the president of the Mustard and Cheese Drama Society. We are the second oldest drama society in the United States. And we're all about getting lots of people involved in theater and the arts. One of my favorite things about MNC is that we've got people across all different majors getting involved in the arts. I don't think a single member of the executive board this year is a theater major. We've all got majors in different departments across the campus, which is really cool. And we hold events for students to get involved in the arts and take people out to Broadway shows and have a good time together. Yeah. I love MNC, so I've had a wonderful time with it all 4 years that I've been here.
What was the last Broadway show MNC went to? What was
We
since
went
everything
to
shut
see,
down?
Yeah, we went to see Beetlejuice in the fall of 2019. It was so wonderful. I love seeing shows. We were supposed to see Frozen like right after we came back from spring break, and that didn't occur.
Didn't happen, did it? Yeah.
No.
That was such a fun trip. I went on the MNC Beetlejuice trip, and that was awesome. Wandering around the city trying to find where the bus ended up parking at the end of the night.
I mean, would it be a field trip if we didn't get a little lost along the way?
It was so funny. It was like myself, my boyfriend, and then all the students, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm the adult in the group. Like, I don't want to." Some of these kids have never been to New York City before. Like,
And they're
was
relying
really
on
fun.
you. Yeah, right?
I mean, no one was relying on me. I thought I self-imposed this. I'm the adult of the group, even though they're all adults.
Yeah, I was running around with I was walking around with a group of students who were from the West Coast and had never been to New York before. And so like I was running back and forth between the two spots. It was a very eventful trip, but the show was wonderful. I very much enjoyed that show.
So, Mustard and Cheese, that's an awesome program that you work with and club that you work with. And you also work with a project called Beyond Bars. I would love to hear more about what that project is and what you do on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working on the third iteration of Beyond Bars. It's a project about educating about the prison system in America, and each year kind of focuses on a specific topic. So the first year was talking about people's experiences in prison. The second year was talking about specifically women's experience in prison. And this year we had to adapt a little bit related to COVID, but we're talking about marginalized communities, stories with the prison system, and educating about prison abolition and actionable steps you can take related to it. It's a really wonderful project. It has taught me so much about the prison system. It was just kind of something that I knew existed and knew wasn't good. And now I have a much deeper knowledge, but also have a desire to learn so much more. And hearing all of these previously incarcerated individuals' stories about incarceration has completely changed my perspective on it. It has been a wonderful learning experience, and I'm very excited for when we get to share the pieces that we've been working on with people.
Yeah, so what's kind of the format? Are you doing plays based on their stories? Are they involved at all?
Yeah, so this year is obviously going to be a little bit different than every other year, but this year we're doing like a playlist of 30-second to 5-minute pieces, and we'll have the audience pick which pieces they get to watch. So each piece is related to like a different topic or a different story. So some of the pieces are pieces written directly by previously incarcerated individuals or people that work with incarcerated individuals. And then some of them are pieces written by us from the research that we have done on the carceral system. And I'm going to try that again.
Go for it.
I'm going to try that again.
Take two.
I don't remember how I started the sentence. Okay, I've got it. A lot of the pieces are written by previously incarcerated individuals, and a lot of the pieces are also written by people who work with previously incarcerated individuals. The audience will get to pick which piece they get to listen to, and it's in a playlist. So each piece is about 30 seconds to 5 minutes of oh my gosh. I'm going to start one more time.
As many times as you need.
Okay. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. I've done this speech so many times. I don't know why. I'm like, oh, now I can't stutter at all because this is my third take. Okay. Got it this time. So the format this year is obviously going to be a little bit different than it has been any of the other years that we've done it. So we're doing it in a playlist format. So there's going to be a variety of different pieces from 30 seconds to 5 minutes, either written by us or by previously incarcerated individuals or people who work with previously incarcerated individuals. So it's really cool. You get a lot of variety of pieces. The audience get to pick which ones they get to see. And we used the research that we've done over the last year to put together our pieces. And then along with our playlist, we also have like actionable steps, ways to learn more, and then we'll be able to share them all after the performance.
I'm sorry, I spaced out there for a minute. Can you do that one more time for me? I'm sorry. Go
Uh,
ahead. Somebody, I feel like
Did
somebody
I
had a real
actually answer
question.
the question, or did I answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So one of my favorite things about theater is that sometimes there are topics that like normally wouldn't have as much impact on me if I were to just like read a paper about it or like see a headline. Um, do you feel do you feel the same way, and do you feel like this topic in particular about incarcerated people uh, will affect people more in this like format of theater? Has it affected you more than if you were just to read about it?
Yeah, I think it makes it much more accessible. It's really easy to hear a story and understand the information that's being shared with you. Like I can throw a lot of numbers at you, and that's one thing, but by portraying it through the medium of theater, it makes it much more personal, and you understand the experiences of these different people. And when you share multiple stories, uh, then you can see like the pattern, and it makes you feel empathy for these people that we live such different lives from them, and you want to take action. So uh my first experience with it was
Hmm.
watching a performance of Beyond Bars a couple years ago, and it blew my mind. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't even know something I should be thinking about. And then I ended up auditioning to act in it um, last spring, and I got to speak with the people that were helping with the past writers of Beyond Bars, and hear their experiences personally. And then I was asked to actually write and work with the project. And each time I got to learn a little bit more, made me want to get so much more involved and take more action, and have conversations with people and spread that information. So I think that theater makes it really easy to want to learn more. It's a really easy jumping off point. You're like, I just learned this information and now I need to go home and look it up. And then the numbers start to make sense and you can apply it to
Hmm.
the stories that you heard. It makes it really easy to understand other people's experiences.
That's awesome. Thank you so
Oh,
much
wow.
for like taking on that project and being involved in that. It's really important. I don't really know anything about the prison system and the incarceration system. I don't. Just what I've watched on like Orange Is the New Black, honestly. Um, so I'm glad that that was definitely a troupe, a theater troupe that's tackling that.
Yeah, it's a really amazing project. It has taught me so much, and I'm so excited to get to share everything that we've learned. The wonderful thing about having to do it all online is once we do it, we can post it forever. So we've got our website, it'll be on YouTube. People can check it out for as long as the internet's around, which is pretty
Hmm.
cool. So I'm really happy that we got to do something that might share everything that I've learned over the last year with other people.
And I can totally agree with you on that. Theater is a great place to learn new things. Like this podcast series has opened my eyes to so many. Not setting Ovation specifically, right? But um, with Theater XYZ and doing all this research on the social injustices and what people go through and what they think and what they worry about and thoughts I've never had, it really opens your eyes to what's out there and what you don't know that you don't know. And once you start knowing it, it's like, wow, I want to know more. How do I help? How do I change things? How do I influence? Right? How do I? So I'm right there with you on theater being a great place to learn new things. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now that we've talked about everything you've done, right? You were a tree in fourth grade.
That's the highlight. That's her peak.
That's with the acting and the stage management you've done, being involved with Beyond Bars and being with MNC. Uh, do you have like a favorite spot in theater? Is there any one thing you like more than anything else?
I think that acting will always hold a special place in my heart. It's where I started. Um, I love getting to be creative, but really what I want to do is I want to try out all the different parts of theater. Like I want to get to do everything. So I think stage management kind of allows you to do that a little bit. You get to put your fingers in all of the different pots and try out and learn about all of the different things. I really love learning about theater and getting to learn more. So acting will always be my special favorite, but if I had to choose one part of theater to do for forever, I would probably do stage management. I think I would get to
Yes.
learn more. I think through stage management, you get to like be part of all of the parts of theater and get to watch it go from beginning to end, and that is so cool. It makes my engineering problem solving mind very happy.
I don't know if you know this about stage management, but it's hard.
Oh, yes. I very much agree.
It can be hard, but it's also fun.
No,
And it's so rewarding. It's
Yes.
so rewarding.
I believe that. I think it takes a specific kind of person. My brain does not work that way, right? So
Oh, it was a challenge. It was hard to transition into stage management from acting because I went from one of the people that got taken care of to the person taking care of everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't just have to learn my lines. I have to do all of this other stuff. It was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge.
you know what I
Yes.
should do is I should audit Elizabeth's class, right? And then I'll know how to be a better stage manager. Should the
Absolutely.
need ever arise.
Sign on up, Theater 45, baby. Sign on up.
So Eliza, really quickly before we move on, yesterday during our pre-interview, I really loved your answers about why you loved acting and why you loved being backstage. So can you just go a little bit more into why you love them individually? Because your answers were just so great.
Why I love acting? I love acting so much because I think it helps me to understand other people's experiences a little bit more, to try really stepping into somebody else's shoes and understanding their story. I think it allows me to have more empathy for other people, to understand their experience because I'm trying to be other people and then I get to share somebody else's story with the whole audience. And I think that's so amazing and such like a wonderful experience. Um, and why I love being backstage. I love being backstage because I get to create magic backstage. Like, I get to do things that the audience will never know that I did. And whether that's solving a problem or just doing something I'm actually supposed to be doing, usually solving a problem. Like, it's so fun to get to walk out at the end of the show and be like, hey, did you notice anything weird about that scene? And people will be, oh no, it was wonderful. I'm like, aha, you will never know that I was actually sprinting frantically to try to get something done. But that kind of magic is so rewarding, to get to be a part of creating somebody else's experience and telling of a story. It's so much fun, and I would happily be involved with it forever.
There's such like a deep satisfaction, like putting out all these giant fires that no one knows about. Or, there's
Oh,
like a joke in like
absolutely.
the theater world that like if you're a technician and you do your job correctly, no one even knows that you exist. If people notice you, then like you're doing something wrong.
Yep. If you make
That's
the
what I
review,
do.
there's definitely a problem.
I think all of the best theater stories are when something goes wrong.
Oh yeah. Those are the ones we
Absolutely.
remember.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I remember all the not war stories, I suppose, that were good, but yeah, definitely. Those crazy moments that just shock your mind. And then you're like,
Mhm.
I don't know how I survived that, but wow, here we are. And nobody seemed to notice. So yay. The magic worked.
The first the first musical I ever I used to be a stage manager when I was like in high school and early college. And then I realized I'm not quite as much of a people person as I needed to be to do that. I don't care enough about other people's problems, I guess.
Figure it out.
I was in high school and I remember we had like a haze machine and we were doing Joseph. And I was like, it was opening night. I was so excited. I was like, yes, my stage managing debut. And the curtain opened and all the fire alarms in the building went off because of the haze machine.
Oh, no.
Our soundboard like shut off. So like I didn't have the God mic that I normally had. So I'm like, and our house manager was like a student, I think. So I'm like what do I do? And everyone is just sitting there, and the fire alarm's going off, and no one moved. No one moved at all. No one started evacuating.
No.
That's like a memory I will always have of the entire cast and the audience outside, and the cast members are all in costume. We're just like sitting outside my high school waiting for the okay to like go back in and like start over. But I love that. I love these moments.
Nothing
Did
like
the show go
evacuating a
on?
bunch of people.
Yeah, we were outside for probably about 20 minutes. And then we went back in and then we started from the top. But I remember it was so funny because like it took me a minute to process what was happening because the actors were still singing, but the mics weren't off. So I'm like, okay, their lips are moving. I can't hear anything. I was like, oh, that's an alarm. Oh, I need to like do something.
Oh no. We love the actors' desire to just continue on no matter what.
Like weren't even phased by the alarms or anything, the flashing, the noise. They just kept singing their little hearts out.
That's absolutely what I would do.
We had a light board failure over in Baker Hall during an orchestra concert, and Michael Jorgensen was the soloist on violin at that moment, and the lights went out, and I looked up and I thought, there's something wrong with my monitor because it's black and I don't know why it's not working. And instead, because I kept hearing music, it was all going fine. And then all of a sudden, my light board operator's like, the stage is black, like there's no light anywhere. And Michael played for like, I think 15 to 20 seconds in the dark, like, you know. And I remember Eugene came off stage and he said, he was like, I couldn't tell if I was having a stroke or what was going on, if it was just me, because everybody kept playing in the dark. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we had to restart, of course.
Love the commitment.
Yeah, exactly. We all thought we all thought it was individually us having a problem, not the actual blackout happening on stage.
I don't know if we want to get into specifics or not, but last year there was an evacuation out of Baker, right? Did you find that people were just sat there and didn't move, or when the alarm started going off, this was the water backup thing?
Oh, when I evacuated the hall?
Yeah.
I always get to evacuate the hall. Josh and I have a running joke. I've been working here at Lehigh for like 18 years, and I have had to evacuate the hall more often for more reasons like than he's never had to, and he's been here longer than me. Yeah, I evacuated the hall during an orchestra. It's orchestra, really. I evacuated the hall during an orchestra concert. We had a black box show happening. There was a fire alarm going off, and it was February, and I had 450 people or so in my space, and there were another 100 or so in the black box, and we all evacuated outside because of a fire alarm that was because of a steam leak, and it had backed up into the building, and it was setting off the fire alarm. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, the firemen came, and they couldn't turn off the visible alarms, which means the strobes in the space were still emitting at that, like, you know, every however often they go off. So they were able to silence the audible alarms, but they couldn't shut the alarms off because of the steam backup or whatever. I'm not exactly 100% sure. So we went ahead and went back into the space with the visible alarms going off, and the orchestra finished the concert with these strobes. There's one strobe on the back wall behind the orchestra facing the audience. So can you imagine, like, think about this for just a second. You're the conductor of the orchestra, and you're trying to keep the time for everybody, right? You've got this massive score of music, and there's this thing going off at like a certain interval every few seconds, and you're trying to not pay attention to the time that it's keeping while you're going on. Imagine like all that, plus also just the audience's experience of this like strobe around them and toward them, and
I would be so distracted.
I know the orchestra they should have just started playing some EDM, and then it could have been like a rave. Change the whole program.
Yeah. But yeah, no, people left. Like I went to the stage and people were already like leaving. It was crazy.
Yeah, that would have like messed with me. I probably would have had a headache by the end of that.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
Yay.
I love that. Did we have to evacuate? What happened with the toilets?
That was last year or the
That was
year.
last year, right? When when you guys all had to flush the toilets at the same
I
time?
think it was
What?
very beginning of the fall semester. There was a TED. I don't know what rights we have for what I can't say. We'll get it in post, right? There was like a TED talk, and there was a huge company here, and all of a sudden the alarms start going off, and we had to evacuate. And was I think the problem ended up being uh, the Zollner holds X amount of water for all the things it does. And this was the first time we had so many people back in the building that they were using the bathrooms and using the water fountains, that the tank actually was getting low on its reserves. So the alarms went off because it was like, hey, if there's a fire, we can't handle it. Right. So all these we had to evacuate. Were you around for that, Elizabeth? Do you know of
No,
which
this one I was not here, so I missed one.
I remember being in my office, and like I'm there and Ponder was there, and we're watching the little TV, and like the alarm starts going off and we're looking at each other, and we're like, and then Josh is on stage with the microphone, and we're like, okay, maybe we should leave. Josh is evacuating the theater, right? And then we had about a week later we had a bathroom flushing party or whatever. We all
I
Yes.
remember getting an email
Yes.
saying like, "All right, everyone, we're flushing and running the water at 12. If you can get to a toilet at 12, please do so." Like, I was like, "This is the weirdest email I've got in my entire life."
Well, then
This
you've
would
never been
only
on the
happen
email where
here.
we said, "Oh, we're gonna make theater in the restrooms. We're gonna make theater in the restrooms." We had a whole. We'll cut this out in post, but we had a whole conversation and a whole slew of meetings about how we were going to present some theater to people coming into the restrooms. It was.
I've done that. I've done like an immersive theater thing
Wait.
where there was a show happening. It was like this piece that came through, but like every single part of the theater had like a different performance in it. And there was definitely someone in the bathroom. There was like one bathroom designated for like just bathroom use. But then like, yeah, part of the tour like brought you into the bathroom where there was like a woman like draped over the sinks because it was all about like the female orgasm. It was a really interesting show.
Okay, well, it's good to know that we weren't the only ones thinking about theater in the toilet area.
I've never had that thought cross my mind. Nope.
The female orgasm? Matt, let's have a conversation.
Oh, and now we get our
Right?
very first.
What just happened? Just to be clear, I was referring to theater in a bathroom. Just so we're all on the same page.
So back to Eliza.
Only in the theater. This could only happen in the theater.
Right? We officially have our first like not okay to air moment, I think.
Yes.
And even if it's not, I'm calling it that.
Parental warning.
Mature content ahead. Oh, all right. Okay. Ouch. All right, shall we get back to the interview?
So you're nearing the end of your time with us at Lehigh. I'm sad to say.
I am. That's very upsetting.
So what do you think you're going to do after you graduate?
Yeah. So the plan right now, I have an internship lined up at a global medical technology group for the summer, which is very exciting. And then I'm planning on coming back and doing a 1-year master's in healthcare systems engineering. And hopefully my plan for the future is to go into working in the pharmaceutical industry or the healthcare industry, problem solving and helping make the world a little bit better.
Even the world.
Yeah, I have a little bit of that save the world in me. So I would love to work in healthcare in some way.
And so what goals do you have like after you graduate to keep theater in your life, to keep that as part of what you do?
Yeah, I don't think life is interesting without art. So I will absolutely be keeping theater in my life in some way, whether that's working at local theaters or something that I found over the quarantine is I found a wonderful group of Zoom theater people who we get together and we just read scripts together and act it out together, keep our acting abilities up, and have a lot of fun just being creative together. So I hope I can keep that in my life. and also just get involved with the arts locally as much as I possibly can. I love theater. I couldn't possibly give it up.
You're not the first. There's so many students that have graduated and they stay in touch, and they're still involved with like their community theaters, or they get involved with like the local high school theater scene or whatever. However, they can go in and kind of infiltrate. It's really interesting. They're like, "Hi, I'm a physics major, and I do." I work with like on this nuclear plant outside of town, but I'm going to go over here and like do this community theater with you. And I think it's really amazing that they keep both of those things up.
Yeah, one of my high school science teachers, we all went to his show. It was a lot of fun, and kind of showed me how I can really keep it in my life no matter what I want to do, which is really cool.
And you said now that group paired up with like the music department, right? So now you have like a live pit for your shows, or they have a
Yeah,
live pit for their shows. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's
I'm
really
glad.
cool. Yeah, so the
It's such
music
like a
club,
cool thing to leave in your wake.
now it's the arts and entertainment club instead of the theater club and then the music club. So they're one club and they put together a musical every year. It's really cool.
So you've touched on it a little bit. Do you feel like your major and your love of STEM influences theater? Do you feel like theater influences how you're going to approach STEM in the future? Do you feel like they influence each other?
I think they combined make me who I am. So I don't think I could do one without the other. Um, but I really love problem solving. I love math. I love statistics, and that's really fun. But I also think that theater has given me the ability to work with and understand people, right? Like one of the jokes is that engineers don't know how to talk to people. But I think I've learned at least some skills in how to talk with people through theater. So I think combined, they're going to make me like a more well rounded person, which is why I love getting to do both. I think that theater has also taught me a lot of really wonderful leadership skills and allowed me to apply some of the problem solving that I learned in engineering to theater. So I think they're just like a cycle, like they go into each other and they just have combined in my heart and they're like one and the same. So they absolutely influence each other for me, and I think I couldn't do one without the other.
It's
I
funny
love
to
that.
it's funny that you meet to me that you say the joke is engineers don't know how to talk to people, because I hadn't heard that. That's new to me. That joke is but I have words. I'm gonna use my words. Okay, ready? I I, I teach the martial arts. I've been doing so for like 25 years or ish. Well, I've been in them for 25 years. And one of my assistant instructors is a engineer. Um, and it's funny. I've noticed over the past couple years the way that we both approach the martial arts. I'm very artistic, and he's very engineer. And I'm like, okay, this is the art. Let's explore all these things the art can do. And he's like, this is how the art is done. You do it this way. And not that one is right or wrong, right? When it comes to technique, he can explain, he can break down every technique the way it needs to be done. And I'm like, great. Now let's talk about how you apply that technique in all these crazy different ways. And it's just so funny to see me being so artistic and him being so engineer, how we both try and talk to the students. And sometimes I feel like we're contradicting each other, and we're not really, but I feel like the students sometimes are like, like what? Like what? We have this whole right brain and this whole left brain thing going on at the same time. But it's interesting to see how we're so different, but we enjoy and do the same thing so well together.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
funny.
Do you think
it's
your
so
dojo
great.
is stronger because of it? Sorry, Eliza, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's so great to be able to have both.
100%. I think it does. I think it allows the kids to see both sides of that, right? Because if it were just me, I wouldn't be breaking down the technique maybe as much as I should. But the fact that they get that breakdown is very beneficial to them. And then I think the fact that they get to see all the other ways I think about it only makes them better martial artists, because they're getting both sides of that conversation.
I also think it's great that if you have students that are more engineer minded, they have someone that they're like, oh, this is how they do it. That makes sense to me and how my brain works. And then when they have you, they're like, oh, I guess that makes sense to us. No, like, that makes sense.
Sure.
It's awesome to have, like, multiple role models in your life that are coming at life from different points of view, so they can be more well-rounded and they can, like, find what works for them. Because I've definitely had, teachers or coaches or whatever that, like, their brain didn't work the same way mine did, and I was like, "I don't get it," and they couldn't figure out how to explain it to me, or, I just, like, didn't relate to how they were saying it, so that's awesome that, and now we have Eliza, who's, like, the combination best of
Right.
both worlds there.
Well, I think it's really great. Yeah.
Which is why you like stage management, right?
I do like, yeah.
Because stage managers are creative and analytical. That's the combination.
Well, and there's more than one way to solve every problem. So being able to see that engineering-y, follow the path, take the
Yeah.
directions way, and then also being able to have that creative ability to adapt is like really great to be able to like see both sides. Yeah.
And I think the two of us we're rubbing off on each other, right? Like I am seeing him with all his analytical and he kind of sees me with all my creativity, and we're making each other better as well as the students. So
Yeah, absolutely.
we're bringing together all this linear and
Yeah.
non-linear.
The world needs all of it.
Right?
Yeah, it's a very yin-yang relationship. It's perfect.
Yes. I like the reference. Eliza, how does working in the arts or being so involved in the arts change your perspective of art when you're not involved with it as a participant, as a spectator?
Okay. Well, I can talk about, so before I was a stage manager, I watched shows very differently than after I was a stage manager. And even before I was like really acting, like watching it as somebody who doesn't understand the arts, it was just getting to see a story, which always is so much fun and so enjoyable. But like getting to understand all of the things that made that art possible, like all of the work that the actors had to do to build their character, and everything else they have to do, and all of the work that the crew had to do to put the show together from start to finish. And it's so cool to have like an understanding of what goes on behind the scenes to make what I'm seeing possible. And I feel like I enjoy art in a very different way than before I understood it, which is really cool. And I also sometimes wonder, like, sometimes when I see a show, I like try to go in and be like, okay, don't be the person that knows. Don't be like, oh, I see the spike tape on stage. I wonder what's gonna go there. Like, don't be that person. Like, try to go in with like a blank mind and see it how they wanted you to see it, and then like also just understanding like what happened. Oh, it's so cool. Like my nerdy heart is just so excited to get to see other people's art when I'm not involved.
When we went to see Once on This Island with M&C, that was my boyfriend's first musical that he's ever seen. It was like his first theater experience. And it's so funny because he's sitting there. He's like, oh my God, how did they do that? I'm like, oh yeah, well they just, and he's like, shut up. Like, I don't want to know. but you asked. And he was like, I'm just trying to like enjoy the magic. He was like, I'm actually very interested in after the fact, when this is done, of you being like, oh yeah, you just do this. It's just a false floor. We know, whatever it is. But he was like, right now, in the moment, he's like, I just want to enjoy that, like, something magical and cool just happened on stage. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Then don't ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my friends, so my first semester here when I did Orlando, some of my friends that came to see Orlando had never seen a play before ever.
Yeah.
So like they came up to me after, they're like, I didn't know what this was. You weren't you. I was so confused. It's like so fun to watch people experience theater for the first time, that sometimes I just kind of wish that like I could experience it for the first time again.
Yeah.
But also I would never give up the knowledge that I have about theater. It's so cool.
I almost didn't do theater after the first show I saw. The first like show I remember seeing, I was like 12, and I saw a really terrible high school production of Our Town.
Oh no.
And I fell asleep, and then I left during the middle of the second act, which is so rude now in hindsight. Like, I should have just stayed. There was probably like a half hour left of the show. But I was like, why would anyone ever want to do this? Like, that was awful. I'm not going to put other people through that. And it just happened to be like one really terrible production that my friend was in, but I'm glad I didn't give up on it. So I think people, even if you see a theater production and you're like, I don't know, see something else, give it a chance.
Yeah. Or see a different genre. Maybe that's not
Yeah.
the genre for you, you know?
Yeah. Our Town is not the show for me.
I mean, for the longest time when I was growing up, I hated going to musicals. I hated it. It was such drudgery. I just was like, why are you dragging me to these musicals? I hated my parents for that. But, you know, I know now, looking back in hindsight, that that was them planting all the seeds I needed to do what I do now. And I love it. I love musicals. Now, not then.
It's totally the opposite for me. My dad does not like musicals, but he will come see me in any show that I do, and he will sit there and tell me I did great, and I still don't think he likes them very much.
My parents, when I was in college, one of the first shows I worked on, or not, I went to college, I was like 8 hours away. My parents didn't see any of my shows I worked on there. And then when I transferred and I was only an hour away, my parents have no art background at all, and like other than like drawing and painting. And we were doing a production of a Streetcar Named Desire, and it was this very like abstracted version. So on stage all the times were 5 Blanches and 6 Stanleys that like acted out their inner monologues. And my parents saw it, and then they were like, that was nice. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, what? I don't remember there being that many characters in the movie. And I was but you're right. There's not normally like 14 people on stage at all times. But, yeah, they were like very confused. So after that, I only took them to pieces that were like a little easier to digest.
I give my parents like a little like description of like, okay, these are the things you need to know before you come in to understand what's happening. And they've seen me in shows since I was a sequoia tree, so they're just happy to see that, that I've grown a little since then.
Are there any pictures of you
grown
as a
a little
tree?
Absolutely, there is.
We're gonna need one or two of those. Yeah.
I'll share them. Yes.
My parents were always such good troopers about my theater too. I went to college about 2 hours away, so they'd come up. I want to say for like the Friday show, they'd stay the weekend and see the Saturday, then maybe even the Sunday matinee, and then they'd leave. They'd get 2 or 3 shows in a weekend. And one of the first shows I did was Mackinac, and there was a lot of noise. It was very heavy. They had like jackhammers, and my dad gets migraines, right? So he's sitting in this theater with all these noises. he's like trying to watch. By the third show, I felt so bad for him. But they always came. They always supported me. They've always, and that was just one of the memories I have is my dad being like, "Oh, it's such a great show!" like one of these, holding his head. Like I'm just like, "Oh man, Dad, don't come tomorrow." He's like, "No, we'll be here. Don't worry." They've always been really good to me. They've always been really supportive about this. So that's just one of those stories.
Oh. I hate to bring us down, but Bailey, can you cue in dramatic piano, please?
Dramatic piano coming up.
Dramatic piano, go.
Whoops, wrong one.
The way to bring in dramatic piano.
Oh no, again. Okay, let me start over.
Well, if we're gonna go down this road, that's the way to go down this road.
I was looking at the button, but my cursor was not on the button. Okay. Dramatic piano coming in now.
Well done.
Eliza, tell us, what does the world without art look like to you?
The world without art, it's very sad and lonely. I don't know, like art is how you like connect with this is so much more serious than piano now. Oh man.
Right?
I feel like I need to be like, art is so much better when you get to connect with other people. But like actually like art is how we get to connect with other human beings and like hear their stories and understand their emotions, which is what makes you understand other people. So the world without art would be very sad and very lonely, and like a lot of people get to express themselves through art. I know that art has always been an outlet for me. So like not being able to express yourself and connect with other people, I feel like there would be so much less understanding. And also, art is really fun and creative, and the world would be a lot less exciting without art. So, I I wouldn't particularly like to live in a world without art. It would kind of stink.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. It would definitely stink.
Yeah.
So how do you want to impact the world, Eliza? What's the legacy that you hope to leave or are going to leave behind?
How do I want to impact the world? Wow. I'm like 22. That's
This is it. This is when it happens.
oh
You're
man.
gonna.
If I could impact the world in one way, I would like to put more positive energy out into the world, make people a little bit happier, and just overall have a positive impact. Just, you know, make the world a little bit brighter. That would be good enough for me.
Right.
That would be good enough.
I think you do that fairly regularly.
You're already on
do.
your way, right? You're already.
You are. You're well on your way with that. You know, I had the pleasure of having you in my class, not once, but twice. And that experience, has affected me. So you've already had that impact because you do brighten a room. You are always, even in the most stressful moments, you're always like bringing that positive. And so well done and keep it up.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I love that
Absolutely.
you also have that spark of like that you want to save the world in you. And it's so important to hold on to that. And I feel like you're exactly the type of person that the world needs to have that spark because you are so like steadfast that, I feel like even if things get dark, like you're still going to be like, nope, I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to like, I want to save the world. Like, I don't feel like you're going to get that like nihilistic, like, what's the point? I can't make a difference. I feel like that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't really know how to respond to that. That's very sweet. It means a lot to me.
Were you in Elizabeth's class twice because you failed it the first time?
No.
Okay, I'm just asking because stage management is hard. I just want
Stage management is hard.
I want to drill that home. No.
Stage management is hard.
Matt, come take my class and you
No,
will
I'm
not be
serious.
afraid
I'm
anymore. You'll be like,
serious.
oh, this is so easy.
I would like to observe Matt observing the class.
Well, maybe we'll do it on Zoom. Maybe we can.
I love auditing classes. I audited Will Lowry's class, and that was so fun. I had to drop out because of the shows, and it took up like too much time. But for the half a semester, I did audit that class. It was really fun to like learn from one of my colleagues.
I did the same thing with Melly. I audited her scene design class for
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 weeks, and then I couldn't do it anymore. But
I haven't audited anybody's class. So
Well, you should in all
I'm
your
sorry.
free
Yeah.
time.
But now I'm writing all this
Right.
down. Like, okay, Will Lowry's gonna. I need to take one with Erica so I can. Okay. So Eliza, tell us. We want to know stories. We talked a little bit about like that behind the scenes sprinting across the room. Nobody seems to know, but we want to hear some of that. Like, give us some good stories. Like, I have one in mind about some quick moment where you suddenly found yourself backstage as you had planned that morning, but suddenly on stage for some reason. Want to tell us about that?
I think that's absolutely my most dramatic theater moment. But half an hour before the show opened, it was brought to my attention. I was assistant stage managing a show.
What show was this?
This
Yeah,
was
I was gonna
Dog
say.
Act. I was
Okay.
assistant stage managing Dog Act. It was the first show I was ever assistant stage managing. And about half an hour before the show was supposed to start, it was brought to my attention that one of our actors had not arrived yet. And so I went and I sat outside of Zollner waiting to send them directly downstairs. And then I went and I talked to my stage manager, and I was one of the only people that knew the lines and the blocking. So there was me and one other individual who might have been able to do it. So 15 minutes before the show started, they brought me downstairs to the other actors, and the actors voted on who they wanted to perform in the show with them. And they voted for me. And 7 minutes before opening, we were throwing dirt on my face to get me in costume and trying to find clothes that fit me that worked with the show. And I went on stage 7 minutes later. It was one of the craziest things I've ever done. And so much fun.
Was it a big role, or was it like just a walk-on role?
It was, so the way that this show kind of works is like these two characters come on every other scene. So I was in half of the show. So I had a jacket on, so I had my script in my jacket pocket. And in the in-between scenes, me and my character partner, thankfully, I had a wonderful actor who was with me in every scene. And we were always on stage together. So we would go downstairs and run lines in between in the scenes we were off and try to memorize as many of the lines as we could. And then if I couldn't remember all of them, he would pick up some of my lines and we would go up together, and then we would walk up the stairs and do the scene. So I don't think I pulled my script out once. And most of that is thanks to my other actor helping me along, and also stage management, because I really wanted to be a good ASM and all those line notes trying to help the other actor learn his lines. Yeah, but it went well, I guess. There is no evidence that this happened. There's not a single picture. So I'm not really even sure that's something I really did, but people did see it. So it is a thing that I really did.
Oh, that definitely happened. There's lore around it about the time ASM suddenly found herself on stage.
Yeah. And thankfully I had pink hair for it, which was fun because the characters are in post-apocalyptic, everybody had colored hair, so it worked out really well. I happened to be dressed ready to go on as that character that day. So it was fun. And thankfully my character was not known for being articulate, is how I'll phrase it. So if I messed up, I could just curse my way out of the problem.
Let's do some grunting and posturing.
Absolutely.
So that's a dramatic moment. Do you have like your all-time favorite moment in theater?
I think probably my favorite moment in theater I think it was probably being in Orlando. It was the first really serious feeling show I'd ever done. The cast got really close. I'm still good friends with a lot of people from that cast. Our group chat is still kind of active 4 years later. And it was the first time I really felt like a real actor, right? Like, because before that I had done sleepaway camp shows or shows with heat lamps or middle school shows with sequoia trees. So it was the first time I was ever doing anything serious, and it felt so real, and like I was really getting to participate in theater and do something serious, and it was so great. And we had a lot of fun backstage too, so that kind of helped.
And Sasha is not an easy role at all. Like, you had to have a Russian accent. You had to do some fake ice skating.
Yeah. I thought I could do accents until I tried to learn the Russian accent. It took me like 5 months to learn it. And then one day, another actor said something and it clicked, and I was able to do it for the show, and I'm not able to do it anymore.
It came to you when you needed it.
It lasted until closing night and is completely gone.
The magic of theater.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So we're going to wrap things up in just a moment, unless you have any other stories you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, there has to be like a funny story. Are there any funny stories?
Story?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Are we talking... well, I can talk about... I played at my sleepaway camp, which, to preface, these are the least serious shows you could possibly do. Like, my costume was made okay. We did Beauty and the Beast, and I was the tallest actor there. So they pulled me aside and they said, Eliza, as much as I really want you to play Belle, you are too much taller than anyone else. So would you be okay playing the Beast? And I was
Yes.
like, all right, I'll do it. And I had a lot of fun with it. It did not get me any dates to the sleepaway camp prom, but that's okay. My costume was made with a brown sweatshirt, some gloves I hot glued to the end of the brown sweatshirt, and the fingertips as the ears.
Yes.
And
Are there pictures of this?
I don't know if that exists. And then face paint, which actually came out really beautifully. I hope it was real. I think it was like actual paint and not really, because I did not feel good after that show. But we there was a plan for my transformation, and the reason it was a sweatshirt, because I was like, oh, I can flip the gloves off and then flip the hood, and then I'm human. And all I need to do is, before the last scene, I need to run off stage and use a makeup wipe and take the paint off, and I'll just be facing the back of the stage so the audience can't see my face for the scene where like the Beast dies. But somebody left with the makeup wipes, and there was nothing backstage to take my face paint off with. So I was like, show must go on. So I went on and died with my face paint on, and I was like, I'll figure something out, I'll make a joke, it'll be okay. But the person realized their mistake, and I'm laying on stage, and we just died, and it's the only serious moment of that whole show, and she jumps from the audience on stage, and my eyes are closed because I'm not alive, and she just wipes half my face. I did not see it coming. I broke character. It's one of the only times I've ever broken character on stage. And so I get up and I can feel there's still paint here and here, like on the top corner of my face and the bottom. And I stand up and I'm like crying, laughing, and I just go, I'll shave the rest off later. And I walked off stage.
Have you ever considered a career in improv? Have you ever...
Yes.
Oh my god,
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's probably my proudest funny theater moments.
Oh,
I can just imagine the girl with the makeup wipes too. Like, I'm sure after she did it, she was like in the moment she thought that was the right choice, and then after it's like, oh no. Oh, that's so funny.
It was a wonderful experience that I wish I had recorded. Maybe I'll reach out to my sleepaway camp. They might have it recorded. I might have to find this.
That clip is going to go viral so fast.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love
And
it.
you didn't get a date to sleepaway prom?
I know.
What is that?
Right?
Like,
Yeah. I think it was the fangs might have had something to do with that.
I think they were just too intimidated by your comedic timing.
Yeah.
That you can grow a beard and they couldn't.
That must be it. That's the only answer.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap things up in just a moment. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for our global audience of listeners that we have? Anything you wish that they knew about theater or theater at Lehigh?
I wish that people knew how much fun it is and what a wonderful community it builds. Most of my friends now, my senior year, are people that I've met through theater. And I wish that Lehigh people knew how easy it is to get involved in just a little way and feel like part of the team, and how rewarding it can be and how much you can learn from getting involved in theater.
Thank you so much.
100%.
Those are great
Yeah.
parting words. I wish
Thank
more
you.
students were involved with theater at Lehigh too. So thank you so much, Eliza. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much.
That was a lot of
Having
fun.
me.
All right, so I'm gonna start the outro music.
I never know when to start. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, just give it like a little bit.
Give it a beat.
Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Eliza, for being with us. And thank you to Lehigh University Department of Theater for sponsoring this podcast. If you haven't already, please give our previous episodes a listen and get to know some more about the things and the people that make theater at Lehigh University.
We'll be taking a short intermission for the holidays, but we'll be back with plenty more episodes in the new year, starting with Theater XYZ on January 13th, where we'll be discussing if theaters and theater makers should have an obligation to address social justice issues in their art.
Follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and Google Podcast at LU Theater, that's theater with an R-E, LU Theater Podcast Series, and on YouTube, just search Lehigh University Department of Theater. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Always got to end with a dance party.
Right?
Cool.
Oh, it's still going in my head. Sorry.
It's all right.